another video. I hope everyone has been well. So in the last video, I got into my marriage, and so hopping into this one, I'll continue. So after I had my third daughter, I kind of struggled emotionally after that pregnancy. When I gave birth to my daughter, my third daughter, I had to get an emergency C-section. And it was because when I was trying to naturally have her, the umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck, and she was losing oxygen, and her pulse was declining, and she was in distress. So I remember laying there and hearing the doctors all around me telling me to stop pushing, and to get her into the emergency room, so they can do an emergency C-section. I was so scared during that time because, I gave birth naturally to my first two daughters. And then with this one, everyone around me just seemed so panicked, and I was panicked as well. I didn't understand what was happening. So as they rolled me back into the emergency room, they give me the drugs I needed. Those who know or who's had a C-section before, you're totally up. You're just numb from about here down, and you can still hear everything that's going on. So I'm laying there. They start to do the C-section, and then they are going to get my daughter out. But as I'm contracting, they're trying to pull her out, and they're doing this while I'm contracting. So she's going down and they're pulling against gravity. The doctor realizes this, and he's screaming to everybody, let go, let go, let go of the baby. She's contracting, let go. And as they do that, I hear the doctor saying, she's losing too much blood. She's losing too much blood. We have to hurry. So I'm kind of worried at this point. And then they finally get her out. They pull her out, and as she passes me, as they pass me with the baby, she's totally purple, like totally blue and purple. I don't hear anything, and they're trying to get her to breathe. And at this point, I'm so upset. I don't know what to do. And my ex-husband at the time, he's trying to console me. And I think he went back there to check. And then I finally hear her crying. So that was a relief for me. They pull me back into the room. They're sewing me back up. The doctor comes to me, and he's saying, you lost half your blood, and we're going to have to give you a blood transfusion. You can't leave the hospital until we either build up the iron or something that was lost in my blood. And I was so upset at the fact that I had to get a blood transfusion. Well, not had to, but because I did deny it at first. I refused it at first. And then, he came back and he asked, was there a reason why I didn't want to get the blood transfusion? And he asked, is it a religious thing? And I told him no. I just did not feel comfortable getting a blood transfusion. And he told me that, I had to kind of make up my mind on what I wanted to do, because they couldn't release me from the hospital. He was saying that my baby could go, but I had to stay. So it took me like 24 hours to finally just decide to go ahead and get the blood transfusion. So they went ahead and did that. And so that was just a very emotional time for me. But by this time, we go home, and this is my first C-section, so I didn't know how painful a C-section was. I thought it was just, a cut and that was it. No. This is a major surgery. They go and, they rip your abdomen open. And it was painful. Like, the pain from the surgery was something that I didn't think, I couldn't think that I would feel, but it was very painful. We get home, and that's kind of where my emotions start to kick in. I could hardly get out of the bed, because if anybody knows who's had a C-section, it's very hard to get up out of the bed once you've had that. It's so very painful. My ex-husband, he told me at the time when we got home that he was going to sleep on the couch because his snoring, he didn't want his snoring to wake up the baby, because I had her sleeping in my room at the time. And I don't think I expressed it to him then, but I was very upset with that. Because I just had a baby and I can't hardly move, and you're going to go sleep on the couch and get a good night's rest sleep because you got to work the next day too. And I'm stuck in a room with the baby that's going to be waking up every several hours to feed, and I can't get up out the bed. So I was very upset about that. I just remember the first several nights when she did cry for a feeding, me trying to get out of that bed was hell. Like, I could not, my stomach hurt so bad, and I finally got myself up. As she's still crying, he doesn't even come in to get the baby, or he doesn't even hear her because he's so in deep sleep snoring. I have to get up to get the baby, and I was so mad. I was so mad. After several nights of that, I did kind of, lose it. Like, one night she started crying. I got up, I picked her up, no, the bedroom door was already open, so I walk out into the living room where he sleep. I hit him for him to wake up. He wakes up, and I tossed the baby to him. I said, "Here, she's crying, you feed her. I'm done and I'm tired." And I walk in the room and I slam the door behind me. I think that's when he realized I had had enough. And he started to kind of pitch in a little bit more. But from there, I literally was fed up. I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Like, this is your baby too. And I'm not going to be sitting up here being the only one taking care of this child, because I'm not. And from there, I think I can't really explain it. I think my feelings, my emotions changed towards him. I started not to feel the same way that I once felt. But of course, I'm married, so, and the way I was raised and the way I was taught to think that, oh, well, you're married, you're stuck, you can't do anything about it, just go with the flow. So that's basically what I did. I didn't really tell, of course I didn't tell him this. I'm keeping this to myself, and I just go about my life doing what has to be done because I'm married, or what needs to be done because I'm married. Literally kind of robotic, going through the motions of marriage in a robotic way because I had to. That's basically how I can sum up my marriage after I gave birth to my third child. It was robotic. I was in a marriage and it was something I had to do. So fast forward some time later, my ex-husband and I and our daughters, we went out to eat after we went to his family's church one day. And, it's Sunday, so we're at the restaurant and we're talking, and I randomly just say, I didn't want to go to work the next day because it was Monday, and how everybody feels about Monday. So I automatically, we were talking, and then I said, you know what's weird? And I know y'all don't judge me because I didn't know this, but I told him, I said, you know what's weird? That when I go into my Outlook calendar at work, that they start the first day off of the week on Sunday when it's really Monday. And then my ex-husband says, Tiffany, the first day of the week is Sunday. And I said, no, it's not, it's Monday. And then he's like, no, Tiffany, it's Sunday. And I'm like, we're arguing. This is now we're back onto our petty stuff. So I'm like, no, it's not, it's Monday. And then he's saying, okay, Tiffany, it is Sunday though. And I'm like, it's not, it's Monday. I said, you know why it's Monday? And he's like, no, why? And I'm like, because today is Sunday, we went to church, and it's the Sabbath day. And God rested on the seventh day. And he's sitting there, and he's thinking for a minute, and he sits there, and he's like, I get what you're saying, but Sunday is still the first day of the week. And I'm like, no, it's not. And I'm like, and as we're saying this, a waitress walks by our table, and I stop her, and I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me. And she's like, yes. And I'm like, what's the first day of the week? And she's like, Sunday. And I'm like, am I the only one that doesn't know that Sunday's the first day of the week? And then she's like, why? And I'm like, okay, well, let me ask you something. I said, if Sunday's the first day of the week, doesn't God say in the Bible that he rested on the seventh day, and the seventh day is the Sabbath day? And she sits there and she's looking at me and she's like, yes. And I'm like, so why is this the first day and not the seventh day? And then she's saying, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know either. What's going on? So my ex-husband at the time was like, Tiffany, calm down. I'm like, no. I'm like, I've never thought about this before. And I've never even known that Sunday is the first day of the week. I always considered Monday, because of what I was taught, this God rested and the seventh day is the Sabbath day. So I'm like in a rush to get home because I want to jump on the computer. So I'm like, hurry up, pay for the bill so we can get home. So we get home and I rush to the door and I get to the computer and I'm typing what day is the first day of the week. And then all this stuff pops up with like Constantine and 321 AD, and I'm reading all this stuff, and I literally am at my computer just like, what is going on? I am totally floored at this moment, and I'm looking, and I'm calling my ex-husband over to mine. Look at this. And he's looking, and I'm like, do you not see this? He's like, yeah. I'm like, they changed the days of the week. And he's like, okay. I said, so Saturday is the seventh day of the week. Not even Sunday. It's Saturday. It's a Sabbath day. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, do you not care about what you're just reading right now? And he's like, And I'm like, no. Why are they feeding us lies? Like, I am so intrigued at the information that I am finding. And this is 2012? I'm so intrigued about this information that I've never seen before. I've never heard before. And I'm literally just going crazy, just Googling everything. And like stuff is popping up left and right, and I'm just like, I can't even soak in the information fast enough. Like I can't even, I'm getting papers and notebooks and just writing everything down, and my husband's looking at me like I'm some crazy lady. He's like, what is going on with you? And I'm like, do you not care that you have been fed lies your entire freaking life? And he's just like, I don't think I'm taking it as deep as you. I'm like, that is your problem. That is your problem. So from there, I literally just went in this, I can't really explain it. I guess for those of you who have awoken to lies and deceit and the things that you've always been taught, to uncover that it's just been not true. I'm talking to a lot of not even just woke people, but Israelites in general, or people in the conscious community. When you first wake up to that information, it's like you want to soak up everything, and you literally get insomnia. So that is what happened to me. Weeks and weeks on end, I was up researching through books, ordering every book I can find, and on YouTube channels that I ran across from people who were talking about certain things that I had just uncovered on the internet. And weeks on end, I was up all night, pulling all-nighters and not even sleepy. Like, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. I would go days, like little days or 2 days without eating, and I would forget that I ate. Like, I forget that I didn't eat. I would not have an appetite. My ex-husband would wake up like 3-4 in the morning, and I literally would be up, and I didn't want to wake him up, so I would not get in the bed. I would go use the closet in my room and shut myself in. So he would wake up at like 3-4 in the morning and come in the closet and peek in the closet and be like, have you been up all night? And I'm like, yeah, look at what I just found. And he's like, Tiffany, this isn't normal. I'm like, it is normal to me. I was doing this weeks on end, months on end. When I started finding a lot of Israelites on YouTube, I started watching GOCC with Elder Akah, and a lot of his information moved me as they do when you're first waking up to this information. I couldn't get enough of the videos, and then I ran across IC, what is that other one? Israelites United in Christ. I ran across a lot of their videos and would watch it. I started going and finding GOCC congregations in Houston, and then I ran after a year or so of that, I moved on to IOG with Brother Bowie in Chicago, and I stayed with that congregation for a while, and it resonated with me. And a lot of these groups that I learned from, because I didn't actually join any Israelite camp or congregation, it was something that I didn't want to tie myself to, since I came the way I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I didn't want to be bound to anything, not a man or a religion. So I wanted to self-teach myself and learn from everyone around me, so that I can soak up the information that I needed to soak up, and the information, and discern whether the information was what I needed at the time. So, because everyone has a piece of the puzzle. Not everyone is the truth, like they always portray themselves to have. Not everyone has the truth or the know-all. Everyone has a piece to this puzzle of life. And so I learn and take away from everyone. And that's how I go about my way of movement in this lifetime that I'm living right now. So this point in my life was a pivotal point in my life. When I started coming across all this information and following Torah, to decide to follow Torah, it changed my entire way of living. And I knew it was going to affect those around me. I started making little changes in my home life and with my children and with myself. And of course, anyone who has done this as well knows that it puts you on the outside and you are no longer on the inside with family and friends. When my mother found out, I started to learn Torah and follow some of the teachings that these Israelites were teaching. She called me one day, and she had a few choice words because when I told her we're no longer celebrating the holidays, or we're not going to attend the holidays at your house or anything like that, she got upset. She basically said, you're trying to be like a Jehovah's Witness again, and I'm like, no, I'm not trying to be anything. I'm trying to obey what I believe for me and my family. I'm trying to obey the Creator. She just starts spewing all this, you can't believe that Bible, it's been written by man, and people don't, and there's so many mistranslations and blah, 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 the same old that they throw at you when they themselves don't want to hold themselves accountable for the things that they read or that they believe, because she says she believes in God and this Creator, and will spew some Bible verses every now and then, but all of a sudden she's saying don't believe the Bible because it's written by man. I just said, look, this is what I believe. This is what me and my children are going to do. So, if you got an issue or problem with that, I'm sorry, but that's on you. But we're not doing it. So she was upset about it, and I was kind of outcasted when it came to my sisters going to my mom's house and stuff like that. There would be times where they would be there and they wouldn't call me, and my children would find out that everybody's at my mom's. It was stuff like that. It was less communication with my family because of what I believed and what I was doing. So I started, of course, to feel isolated, and so did my children at a point, and I had to sit down and speak with them on several occasions, like, I'm sorry if, what I believe and what I'm doing, but you can do your own thing. My thing is, I don't want to force my children into doing things that, because I'm doing it, you have to do it. I know there's a Bible verse that says, train your child and raise them up the right way so that they will never stray, which is what I do. But I don't force anything on my children, because we are all human and we're all learning. And I would be doing the same thing that my parents did to me as when I was a Jehovah's Witness as a little girl growing up. And that's something I never wanted for my children. I want to let them know what I believe in and what I want to do, and if they want to follow mommy, or if they want to listen to me, and what I teach and what I believe, then so be it. But they're their own person. They're their own being. They have their own spirit, and everyone is going to be moved to do what they feel they need to do. So of course I teach this to my children. But when it comes down to it, it is their decision, it's their will, it's their relationship that they're going to have with the divine Creator itself. So, that's how I go about doing what I do in my household. Fast forward some time, my youngest daughter is now, 2.5, 3 years old now, and my ex-husband was going to these Israelite gatherings that I would find in Houston with me, and when I changed a lot of what I did around in the house, he was on board. I would be the one up all night reading the Bible and reading it to him and trying to tell him and kind of explain a lot of what it was saying to him. I knew that it wasn't in his spirit to actually want to learn it and do it. I was just trying to make him, again, very kind of, womanish, I should say, to try and make and force somebody to want to do something or to change who they are. But I was wanting him to take hold of the information like I took hold of the information, to want to move him to be this man that I wanted him to be. And I knew that it wasn't him. And he would let me know on several occasions, it even bothered him to a point. He would say, Tiffany, you want me to be like some of the guys on the YouTube, like you want me to have this understanding, and I don't have this understanding. It's making me feel a certain way about him. But little did he know that I already had felt that way about him when my daughter was born. I was just trying to see if this avenue that I was already going down could bring us closer together and kind of reconnect or rekindle something that was already lost that he didn't know was lost. It got to the point to where it frustrated me that he wouldn't take hold of this information and that he didn't want the information the way I wanted this information. Like, it was my passion. It was something that I can't even describe it. Like, this was my life. Like, it lit me up to read this information and to understand it and to want more of it. And he didn't have that, and it frustrated me. It made me mad. And I would tell him this, like, because he would come to me with like Bible verses and stuff and ask me, what does this mean? Or doesn't it say this? And he would say this, and I would tell him, no, it doesn't say that. And I would tell him to get the context of the chapter and go back. And I would say it that way. I was frustrated, and he looked and he said, why are you getting so angry? And I'm like, because you should know this. Like, how do I know it and you don't know it? And then he got to the point to where, he started not reading and not kind of pushing, just basically falling back. And I would tell him, look, I can't be the only one. For me, I wanted someone on that level as me. I needed someone to lead. I needed someone to be as spiritually minded as I was. And he looked at me and he said, isn't there a verse in the Bible that says if your partner or your spouse is a spiritual believer, then the person, because what happened is because I said, well, if you don't What's gonna happen when you know you don't believe in this stuff and this stuff starts coming true, but you haven't been like a believer? And then he's like, well, isn't there a verse in the Bible that says if your spouse, if you're married and your spouse is a believer and obedient, then you're saved too, whether regardless if I'm doing it or not? You don't understand how much that pissed me off. And I said, I know exactly what verse you're talking about, but you're taking it way out of context. And so he's like, so I ain't gotta do all this. You can do it. I don't have to. As long as you believe and you're obedient, I'm saved. So right then and there, I was like, I'm done. Like, done. So needless to say, that's when our marriage started to really physically see it. Instead of me trying to cover up my feelings now, I was literally like, it's going to be in the open now. Like, I'm not hiding this anymore. And he felt it and he knew it. I came to a point in my life where I struggled. I struggled with the thought of wanting a divorce because the way I grew up, even though my mother and father got a divorce, it wasn't how I was raised, and I was so afraid of that because I had children and I didn't want a broken household. Me coming into the knowledge of Torah and this way of life, and knowing it brings you back into family and it brings you back into knowing what's right and what's wrong. I always deemed divorce as wrong. And I know what it's like to come from a divorced family and have a parent leave and not hear from them and be just broken. And I did not want that for my girls. I didn't want it for them. But I also knew I didn't love my ex-husband. I didn't love him, and I hadn't loved him in a very long time. And I was tired of putting up this facade and this front. And the path that I was going down, I knew this was not the path that he was going to go down. And I wasn't going back. I was going forward. So how do I move forward, not take him with me, but I wanted the family unit, you know? I didn't want a broken family. And at this point in time, we're together almost 15 years. How do I say I'm done and I can't do this anymore? But I struggle with it feeling being wrong. But how can it be wrong if I mentally and emotionally have checked out? So my oldest daughter at this time is 14, I think, 14 years old, the same age as I was when my parents got divorced. And I have two younger daughters, you know, and I just had my third daughter not even, almost 3 years ago. We were out one day, and he actually asked me, do I feel the same way? He knew this because this question wouldn't have even come out of his mouth, but he asked me, do I feel the same way about him? that I used to, and I looked at him and I told him no. And I'm giving you a version at my age then and this time, I was very cold. I was very hard-hearted. I don't give a F how you feel because of the things that I've gone through in the marriage with him disrespecting me, not even respecting how I felt about certain things and situations, him doing him because he's a man and he can. I looked at it that way. I was like, all this time, all these years, I struggled and I stayed loyal to you and I stayed with you through all of the tears and the pain, the heartache. And I'm finally done giving a F. And I didn't care anymore. So when he asked me that, I was like, no. It kind of brought a shock to him. He was like, no. And I'm like, no. And he's like, so what do you think we should do? And I'm like, I don't know. So he started to kind of try and take me out more and stuff like that. But of course, any woman knows who's been in that situation, none of that is going to matter. Like, none of it's going to bring anything back. I let him do it for a while, and then I had checked out a long time ago, and he knew that, and we were going through our issues, and he wanted to he wanted to speak to me. He wanted to know how I felt, and I told him, I'm not, like I told you guys, I'm not much of a speaker. I am now, but then I was so afraid to speak. I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to talk about my feelings. Anything else I could talk about. I could be loud and talk about anything. But when it came to how I felt in my feelings, I stayed away from that. Like I didn't want to even feel it. So I don't talk about it. Like I don't like the mushy stuff. I don't like the tears. I don't like any of that stuff. I don't know how to deal with the emotion. So I stayed away from it, and I turned really cold towards it. Like I would turn that off. Like I don't have any emotion. Like it doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me. And what you're going through doesn't affect me. That's how I took it. Like I didn't want to feel it. So I would act and cover up this pain and this hurt. So when he asked to talk to me about everything about our marriage and how I was feeling, I was just like, what else do you need to know? I just don't feel the same way. Like, and he wanted to know why. He wanted to know more. He wanted to, and I told him, I will write it down for you. So I'm a much better writer. So I started to write this letter to him. And I didn't get halfway through it, but I wrote majority of the things. Now I should say, before I get into the letter, that several months and I had met someone online. He was a Hebrew, and he what he spoke about, would intrigue me. And so we started, having conversation online, and, the feelings developed online. He knew I was emotionally checked out from, my husband at the time. And so we started having conversation, which I blame myself for, which I shouldn't have, but in my mind, I was already done. I just needed him to be done. And so I wanted to tell him that. So I was writing this in the letter. After I wrote down everything that I was feeling in the letter, I threw that in. That I had, met someone online, and I needed him to know about it. I wasn't finished with the letter. I had put the letter in my closet because I was going to come back to it and write more. I got home one day and he had the letter on the bed, and he confronted me with it. And all he saw was somebody else that I was talking to. He didn't see all the other stuff that was before that. So that's what he was concerned with. Somebody else that I was talking to. I had never met before, I was just talking to online. I told him, okay, so yes, I did meet someone else online, but this between us has been done for a long time, which I did write in the letter about how long it had been since I had even felt anything for him in that, aspect. It was very heartbreaking for him because I did write in the letter, I no longer loved him. He looked at me and he said, so what does this even mean? Like, you want a divorce? And I said, what other option is there? Because, like I said, I'm done. And I cannot feel that way. And he said, there's counseling, there's therapy. And I looked at him and I said, what is a therapist and a counselor going to tell me to reignite how I feel about you when I've already told you and I know myself that it's done? And he was like, there's plenty of people that've been in our situation that have reignited and reconnected. And I said, I understand that and I know that, but I'm not those people. And I'm not reconnecting anything. And when I said that, he dropped to the floor and he was crying. And it was the first time I had ever really seen him cry like that. I seen him cry when his father passed. But the way he was crying, I hadn't seen before. He was in a ball crying. And I had no emotion. I stood there and I looked at him. And I was thinking and feeling inside of me like, how you're feeling right now is how I felt with you trying in this relationship the entire time. And now that you're feeling it, I don't feel it. And that's the harsh truth. I took off my wedding ring and I tossed it. So that was another turning point for me. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't even know the path I was about to walk. I just knew I had to go forward. And whatever was going to be there was going to be there. But I knew I couldn't stay there. So I'll end this video right here. And then I'll get into the next with the next half of my story. Thank you all again for watching my videos, and I will be going live on Instagram to talk about my weekend that I've had with Queen Afua, with the Sacred Women City of Wellness. So any of you guys who are watching this after I've already gone live on Instagram, I will save my Instagram live so that you guys can go back and watch. But I do want you guys to catch me over on Instagram. I will actually post it on Instagram and on Facebook to let you know when I am going to go live. It'll either be today, tonight, or tomorrow, Saturday. So with that, I will end it here, and I will send everybody, I'm sending you guys love and light and blessings.